Good morning, everyone. We want to call to order the meeting today to discuss actually the final version of the operating and reserve funding budgets. So with that, do we have a quorum? And I guess we do. We have 6 or 7. Okay, maybe 8. Okay. I have to state the purpose of this meeting, and some of you that have been here before know what it is, but again, what we're trying to do per our statutory obligation is establish a budget for the next year for both the operating fund and reserve funds, and then this budget becomes the basis for the monthly assessment that GRF will assess on the housing mutuals. And we're looking at CapEx today, we're looking at our level of operating expense, and there are some changes. And we tried a couple ideas, didn't pan out. But again, you have to realize that a budget is basically a guidance kind of thing. And we know stuff happens, and like on the CapEx, stuff that's in the CapEx may drop out, and stuff that's not there may pop up as a supplemental. It's happened before, it'll happen again. So don't think of this as cast in stone. What it's really doing is justifying the assessment. On the operating budget, again, things will happen. What we're looking at is year over year on the budget. And we're trying to incorporate shortfalls or advantages that we see right now in the 2025 actual versus plan. But our method of comparison here is the 25 budget versus the 26 budget. So any percentages will be related to that. With that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Okay. All in favor? Motion approved. Chair's remarks, I don't have any more. I guess we go to open forum. Anybody?
We don't have any comments at this moment.
Okay. All right, let's get into it. Our guest speaker today, standing in for Steve Hormuth, is Jose Campos, who is really the head of general services, but being a team, Jose's stepping in and going to present.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me come in here. Trying to wear a couple of different hats today, but it'd be my opportunity to go over the 2026 version 3 budget with you all. And so we do have a presentation prepared here that Eric will be bringing up shortly. But one of the things I just want to talk about just from a general sense is that the format. So historically, we've always had four versions of the budget, right? We do, the first one is really our working one. The second one, we incorporate revisions, and typically what we do is for version 3, it's really the first time we present it to the whole community. We put it on TV6, we do those kinds of things. But with technology, the way it's come, really a lot of these meetings are taking place either on Granicus, they're easily accessible through the website, or those kinds of things. So whereas in former days, we would take version 3 to go through a fun-filled 85 slides. Today, it's really going to be a lot shorter. We're going to assume that whoever's been interested has or can view all of these things on the website, and then we're really just going to be focusing on the changes. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage for that. So we'll go through a little bit of an abbreviated presentation here for you, really focusing on what we've been talking about. So again, here is the calendar that you see before you. As a reminder, we started very early on in the year. We actually started having some capital meetings the first week of January. Again, the first portion of the year, we went through some service levels, we did some internal review, and came up with version 1. In the next couple of slides, I'll show you specifically what we did, but I guess what I'm trying to show you is down on the bottom. We're on version 3, the televised portion. After this, we will go into a version 4 where we will present the budget for your consideration for adoption in September. GRF is set to consider that on September 3rd. But before we get too far into it, I just wanted to talk about some overarching items that have really affected the budget. The first is going to be inflation. As you know, there's been quite inflationary pressure, whether it be with tariffs, whether it be everything that's happening and going on. We see it at the pump, we see it in our grocery stores. Inflation has really run rampant. And as we're looking into 2026, there's not a lot of items that we don't have contracts for, but for those that we don't, we did put an inflationary factor in there. So those are some of the items that are affecting us from the outside. Of course, utilities. As you know, utilities have been continuing to climb. So the process for which we've budgeted utilities in GRF is we've taken existing usage and we've compared it to projected rates. And those rates are projected based off of two things. Some entities, such as Altura Water, have gone ahead and approved their utility rates for the following year. Others have filed certain filings with the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, so we've taken them off of there. And others, we have to incorporate an inflationary factor for. Regardless of what those are, we see that utilities have climbed fairly substantially here, and that is affecting our budget, as well as insurance. And in the whole insurance market, if you can go back, please, sorry. The whole insurance market, whether it be for our regular insurance or our workers' comp, is really based on losses. And there's just been an astronomical upward trend as far as that has been concerned, not only for ourselves or not necessarily based on our particular experience, but as an industry, insurance rates have increased. For GRF, the increase is due to an increase in hazard and liability insurance premium as a result of unfavorable insurance market conditions. Again, it's really something that's going on throughout the entire industry. As far as union and non-union wages are concerned, we have put the union has a contractual adjustment of 4%. We've put a similar one for a non-union, not a similar one, the exact same one. So that is the assumption there for wage adjustments for 2026. Again, going back to the process on the next slide here. We began in January. We engaged the committees early on. This is a change from the previous years. We wanted to get the committee's input as we were talking about capital. So beginning in January and really going through April, we wanted to reach out and get everyone's input as far as some of the capital needs and figure out what's going on those. We've also done a lot of internal reflection where the CEO has sat down with HR and finance and took a look and see what vacant positions can be eliminated, seeing what the turnover factors should be, and some reasonable staffing changes for 2026 is what we've been looking for. And then in April, all of our department heads got together and did line by line and put in each of their individual budgets. In May, management, our CEO, our finance department, and our HR all got together and recommended changes. There were a couple of internal iterations here where we continue to go back and forth. And in May, we presented version 1 of the budget. And as a reminder, at that point for version 1, the increase for GRF was actually a 13.9% increase. As this board knows, we came together, we heard you, and for version 2, when we presented version 2, it reflected an increase in proposed operational budget of $3.6 million or 10%. So for version 1, it was 13.9. In version 2, it was 10. Today's version 3 reflects no changes in operations. However, there is a board directed reduction of $2.9 million. We're going to be talking about each of those items. Again, the focus is going to be the changes between version 2 and version 3. No changes for operating, just for capital. So let's take a look and see what's going on as far as operation is concerned. Again, we've boiled down many slides into this one because at the end of the day, we've already talked about all of these different items. The total basic assessment is set to increase exactly 10%, going from $238.19 to $261.91, an increase of $23.72. We've listed here on your screen the 5 major contributors. These 5 contributors account for 93% of the total increase. So let's talk about them. Number one is going to be a reserve fund contribution increase of $6.50. It's just shy of $1 million, $993,000. This increase is proposed to reflect some of your spend, capital expenditures, primarily the fiber project. As you know, we've already started spending money in 2025, and this is an effort to recoup some of that money or to start building your reserves back up again. We anticipate collecting about $1 million, $993,000 for about 17 years. $17 million is what the project costs. If we did it for 17 years, then we would it'd be able to pay for itself and it'd be able to refund your reserve fund. So that's the strategy in that increase of $6.50. It's a tough pill to swallow, I understand, but the end result is going to be a good one. I also believe that funding this now, since we've already started expending money from this. The number two item in here is employee compensation and related. Again, an increase of $796,000 or $5.21. Again, if you actually were to do the math, this ends up only being a 3% overall increase for staffing. But there are a couple of different items in there. We've insourced some items and taken a look at that. So again, it's a 4% standard wage adjustment pool, and then the total increase for GRF for this line is going to be $5.21. Insurance, I just got done talking about as far as being a tough market out there. Overall, you're taking a look at an 18% increase for insurance, an increase of $4.42 there. One of the items that we haven't discussed but is going to be pretty important is going to be the decrease in broadband revenue. And I want to be clear here. When I'm talking about this has nothing to do with the fiber project. This is just having to do with the way that programming is going. It's going to affect you in two specific ways. One is going to be a lot less set-top box use. So a lot fewer of your members are using set-top boxes. We're continuing to see a decline over the last several years. People are going to other options, such as either streaming. You've heard of Fire Sticks or different things that you can do to your TVs, making them smart TVs. The smart TVs themselves, apps. All of these different reasons, people are shying away from set-top boxes. What does that mean for GRF? It means less revenue. So as we continue that trend, we do anticipate $354,000 decrease in revenue in the line of set-top boxes. Additionally, and really similarly, premium channels is going to decrease about $100,000 in revenue. Again, people have the option, as an example, to get any other services, right? HBO, for example. We can either pay us to have it on their home TV, or people tend to stream, and then they can get it on their TVs or on their devices or have it a little more mobile. So as a whole, we're seeing that downward trajectory in broadband services. And sorry to spend some time on that. I just wanted to emphasize again that this has nothing to do with fiber, because I want to keep those two things separated. And then the last item in here that I wanted to talk about is going to be utilities. Again, we've gone individual utility by utility, but as a whole, GRF's budget is increasing 12% for utilities. Again, we've taken the existing usage and we've projected it at future rates. So that's the extent of it as far as operating is concerned. I don't know if you wanted to pause here and then talk about reserves, or how we want to do it.
Thank you, Jose. I do have some questions on this and clarifications. First thing is, the reserve fund is funded by the resale fee. And I don't know if that was pointed out. Originally, we were, as we're empowered to do, and from time to time, we just had planned to raise the resale fee in the early version of the plans, $9,500 to $9,500, a $2,500 or $2,000 increase from the current rate. Our current plan is to raise the resale fee to $10,000, which is a $2,500 increase over today's rates. Based on 660 sales per year, it's an average. You can do the math. That's additional revenue coming in, and it all goes to reserve. It's a reserve item.
So, yes, that is a true statement. I haven't talked yet about reserves. I'm happy to do so in just
But that's
a couple
part
slides.
of the, so it's not only managing expenses, it's also managing revenue. And there's a situation where the resale fee is justified and increased because everything else is going up. We've been adding to the village. So this is value that people pay for when they first come in here. It's really more of a fairness thing, but it has turned out to be a strong revenue generator. I'd like to point out on the insurance, people think insurance is fire, and in this case, I'm told it's automobile. Is that correct? For GRF.
There are several. Hazard and liability is going to be your big one, but let me pull it up here.
Yeah, the thing is, personally, all of us have seen the insurance companies raise our rates for the autos, and GRF is not immune to that. And so a large part of that insurance increase, I'm told, is due to automobiles. I just wanted to verify that or clarify it.
So I won't have Karina pull it up. Well, maybe I should. Could you pull up page 11 of 28 of the agenda, please? Just because I want to make sure that everyone understands, first of all, everything that's been given to you on your agenda, but also what's going on with insurance. Here on page 11, as soon as Karina pulls this up, we'll be able to see everything that makes up some of these different items. Page 11, please. And if you can scroll down to the bottom. I'd like to just see the insurance portion. Yes, she's working on that right now. So this is your expenditures report. The first three columns are 22, 23, and 24 of actuals. Maybe Karina can help me circle the $3.7 million in the middle. That's your 2025 budget. Your 4.3 to the right of that is going to be your 26 budget. And the only reason I bring this up is because as a whole, GRF is budgeting $4.3 million for insurance. Hazard and liability is 3.97 of that. So yes, it's going to be hazard and liability insurance. I know that the chair just talked about auto insurance. Auto insurance is part of that.
Okay, and the thing is, a new fire map was issued a few months ago by the Orange County Fire Authority, I believe. And more of Laguna Woods Village is in the higher risk zone. How that's going to play out on rates, we don't know yet. But again, that's something, when it happens, insurance is insurance. We are looking at efforts to mitigate our risk exposure, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. And so we'll just wait and see what happens there. But right now, we think the main reason, by and large, is that auto insurance is catching up with the property insurance increases from last year. This year's auto insurance is turned. I'd also like to go on to broadband. And, you know, we lost over $500,000 in revenue. And broadband's a great project, but this is the fact. That's the math. And so I'm hoping that the broadband committee will come up with some more revenue by giving value to the residents, not just raising rates, but I hope, strive to get value for the people so we can get some of this back. Okay, we have a point.
Yeah, going back to that original display you had with respect to the highlights of the increase, we can see of the $23 that, the $23 increase. I know that one line item says $3.50 for lost revenue of broadband. But the other item on here, the reserve fund contribution increase of $650, that is the new broadband project payback assessment. I don't know what you want to call it. That's a bad word to use, but kind of what it is. At any rate, we're looking at $10 of the $23 is broadband related. And I know that we're doing the increase in the transfer fee. I just want to make the board aware and our members aware that, you know, I myself personally believe that we're jumping the gun a little bit about doing the $650 per month payback. It's like we're starting to pay on the new car, and we haven't even taken delivery of it yet. I just think that we could defer that for another year or two, maybe, once the project is done. I don't know if this is the first version that we're seeing this decrease in broadband revenue. I don't remember seeing that on other versions. Was that there?
It was
I'm
always
sorry.
there, yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that is a reality that obviously we're faced with. But the 650, I'm questionable about. Thank you.
Chris?
Thank you. Martin, the 650 is necessary this year?
What?
The 650 is necessary this year because next year, when you come to the whole 63 or whatever dollars,
The 20% thing you're concerned
so
about.
that's the 20% we are concerned about.
Then do it in 28.
So then we will remove it next year so it can work it through. So this is a technical reason why we are doing
You
it.
don't need it.
The big question that I really have is the next line, which is line 3. It's talking about fuel. Fuel prices have gone up this month or in July. Have we increased the fuel prices that we charge the people who buy from us?
Yes,
Is it included in this budget?
yes,
Okay, because that's important.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the fuel price actually went down slightly. The gross 600,000 or whatever number in the general services budget went down. But you're the guy to tell us, so.
Yes. So fuel charges, what we do is we take a look at usage. And sometimes it's a different mix. And it's not that the fuel charges went down, it's just that our mix is different. We're using more gasoline and less diesel. Diesel is more expensive. So that's where it comes from. But if I may be so bold as to address Martin's concern about reserve fund contributions, and that is that as much as we don't have the fiber yet in place, we are already paying for it. And the money is and continues to be drawn down from reserves and will be into next year. So that's why we're suggesting that you start funding it, because that money is coming out of your reserves.
But that primary number was instigated as we were thinking of getting a loan, which we are not getting a loan. So
Still got to reimburse it.
I'm just saying. Thank you.
Gary?
Putting this 650 in, on one level, I totally agree with you, Martin. I don't, I got into a discussion with Steve over something related to this when I was on another subject, but I said, that's kind of like saying, if I go buy a new car, you won't let me have the title to it until I not only pay for this car, but I pay for its replacement up front. I've got to pay for this car and the next car before I get this car. But because of the hoops that we've got to jump through in 27, because the broadband fees for internet and DirecTV are going to go in and are going to whack into our PM, because of David Sterling, if you do it on everybody, it's got to go on that fee. We can't charge it separately like now when you pay for your internet, you pay West Coast, okay? You don't pay us. In 2027, that's going to come in and hit our maintenance fee, or our monthly fee. And David Sterling also says that you can't put that fee up more than 20% in a year. Well, when you take that big of a hit, it makes sense to put the 650 in this year. One, it gives us another $1 million in the bank. And two, we can reverse that next year to make that 20% work. We're flat up against that 20% limit for next year.
Okay, again, the point was, we're losing this revenue. I would hope the broadband committee comes up with some ideas to get it back. But you have to give value, and I just don't know anything about it. But please, please offset that. All right, just a couple more items. Utilities. We have a big increase in utilities this year, electricity, and the GRF board has a fiduciary responsibility to manage expenses. We came up with an idea. It's a solar farm on the ground, either back here or across El Toro. And preliminary numbers, only from one source, suggest we could save $600,000 a year in electricity costs. That's from one source, so we're looking for additional information from other sources to get some credence to that number. I personally believe it's in the ballpark, but it's not in the budget. So the utilities, right now we're a captive of SoCal Edison. Pretty much, we can tell people not to use electricity during the peak hours, but guess what? That's human nature. They're going to do it. So we don't really have that much control over demand. And what we're trying to do, looking at solar, but it's not in the budget. I just want to mention that again. Solar is not included. The solar field out, a ground level, the cheapest way you can do it with a battery, so you want a time shift. It's not in the budget. And if it were in the budget, it'd be a shade less than $4 million net for capital, and it would save $600,000 because it would save 2 megawatts of electric, roughly. Okay. Anyway, generally speaking, it's not in the budget.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're totally in the research phase at this point. I can tell you that I have a proposal that if we did the land behind here, it would cost us a net of right at $2 million. That would, over 20 years, save us $12 million on our bill, net 10 after you do the $2 million cost. Other proposals, at least as of this point, wouldn't, and that's with a 5.5-year basic return on investment. I haven't found any others that will do that well. We'd be more like 7 to 8 years return on other investments. And these are all decisions that, there's going to be options. We could do just the warehouse roof. We could do just the field, which I've gotten, the flood area, I've gotten good news on just the end of last Friday that it's in the hands of the city. It isn't in the county, it isn't. And they have sent me a proposal or a letter that says, these are the things you would have to do to go in there. And hydrology report and a dirt guy would have to do reports. Not to worry, they don't worry about the equipment, they only worry about if it would cause some other problem. But so those are two things that I'll have to discuss with the board, is whether we want to go ahead and get those so we have an idea on that. We have other options that we could do behind the lot up there. I early on got a report where if we took that huge parking lot up there and put carports in that and did the warehouse, that would cost a little more than this would and wouldn't net quite as much because carports are more expensive. But those are all possibilities. But at this point, we haven't got anything locked down. If I was going to really push for anything right now, it would be behind here. We know that would cost us about $2 million. We've got a $500,000 in this year's budget. If later, if we sign off on that, we could look at getting a supplemental for 1.5, and that would button that up. And anything else we could look at for 27.
All right, thank you. Real briefly, question.
Very brief. To add to what Gary was saying, it is better to do it now than later because prices of everything keeps going up, and the 2 million might become more than 2 million. So we have to think really hard and move in the right direction, because Edison is not going to reduce their rates, and it's whatever amount we are showing, 600, 700, 2 million, whatever we spend on electricity is definitely going to be higher and higher every year. So this will be a one-time setup, and it will keep growing on it. That's all I have to say. Let's not
No, we got to get
procrastinate.
rolling here. Let's keep it-
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can I ask a question? On our assessment right now, the $238 we pay, $17.35 is for broadband. Will that's going to remain?
No, that's,
Yeah,
that's
17,000.
for reserves, it's not
For
for.
reserves, yes. Is that going to remain? And that 650 is going to be on top of that, or
Yes.
it is?
650.
Jose, if we wanted to have a discussion on broadband, is there a space in your presentation to do that?
Sure, we can talk about it now. Are we talking about,
Well, they're talking about broadband and.
is your question about today?
I'm talking about the broadband, when you see the breakdown of the assessment that I'm paying, and it says that I'm paying $17.35 a month for broadband. Is that,
I can,
no?
I can
You're saying
answer,
no, it's-
I can
it's
answer that.
published in the Green Book,
I can answer that.
yeah. Yeah.
Let's stick to the 2026
Okay.
budget.
Yeah.
please. Let's
Okay.
stick to our topic, our
Okay,
agenda.
all right, one more thing. You
Okay.
said something
All right.
about electricity, not much we can do about it. We can limit the amount that rooms are used from 4 to 9.
Well, I
Because-
beg to differ. We can do a lot, and one of them is cost control by supplementing, drawing from the grid with actually contributing to the grid. In terms of managing demand to make people use it in the off hours, good luck with that. It's never worked. And, people get a benefit from this, and we can't ask them, go without air conditioning or whatever when it's the hottest part of the day. Come on. Or it's dark, don't turn your lights on. Give me a break. No, that's human nature. Our role in this, we have a statutory obligation to look at stuff like this, to manage expenses. That's our lane. And this is something that would benefit everybody. How it's going to shake out, I don't know. The numbers I've seen so far, if you can trust them, are compelling. But Gary's telling me that, first of all, we need more input on that, and there's several ways to do this. So it's kind of early, so it's not in the budget this time. Wish it were, and it would reduce the monthly assessment. We'll see what happens. Okay, I think we need to roll on. Go ahead.
All right. Very good. So we've talked a lot about operating. Let's move over into some reserves, if we could, on slide number 9. And here on reserves, before we talk too much about reserves, I just want to show you as far as projected balances are concerned. This is, I know, a question that's very near and dear to the board. We're getting a lot of these types of questions. How much money do we think we're going to have available to us in reserves? So to that end, we've put together a little schedule here that I'd like to go over. First and foremost, we start with the most recent statements that we have, which are going to be as of the end of June. So as of the end of June, in reserves, and this combines the balances of your equipment fund, your facilities fund, and your trust facilities fund. You had, this is slide 9 here. Do we distribute slides? Or?
We don't have
No,
these.
this is
We don't have these
correct.
charts in our packages.
Yeah, we don't have these.
will-
No, the slides weren't.
We will get these out to you.
Slides weren't. Right, so, okay.
But they are on the screens here. Just want to let you know that as of June, GRF had a combined total of $29,334,000. And let's talk about some of the additions to that. Some of the additions to
Can we
that.
get copies of the PowerPoint slides?
Yes.
We don't have them.
We will be providing them after the meeting, yes. So right now, they are on your screens in front of you, as well as on the screens in the room, and in Zoom, they're on their screens there. So again, $29 million as of the end of June. We will be collecting the remaining 6 months of assessment at $17 per man per month. That equals the $1.3 million that you see on your screen. And in addition to that, as the chair spoke about, reserves are funded two different ways. One is going to be that $17 per man per month collection that we do, and then the other is the transfer fee. We have this transfer fee. We do anticipate that coming in at $7,500 each. We're anticipating 293 units, just shy of 600 units a year. 293 for the last half of the year. That yields $2,197,000. And then we also anticipate getting some interest, $530,000 in interest. Now, as far as remaining encumbrances are concerned,
me.
these are going to be all of the items that the boards have previously approved. And we do have an outstanding amount of $14.9 million for both equipment and facilities. Those are shown as parentheses here, as they are negative. Everything else that we've talked about to this point have been contributions. The 14.9 will be planned expenditures. So doing the math there, your projected balances would be $18.4 million. However, as you know, the staff got together and we talked about it with this board, and there were a couple items that we needed to remove. For example, the solar project had not yet been approved at that point, so taking that appropriation out of $1.5 million, the EV chargers, taking that out at $650,000, and also several other staff-initiated pending defundings. All of that combined is going to be an additional $4 million of items that we will take out from the 14.9 that you see on top. So doing that math, at the end of the year, we anticipate having funding available of $22.4 million. That's at the end of 2025 this year. Sorry, I know it's a lot of numbers, but I have one more page of big numbers here for you. And that is the question of what's going to happen in 2026. In 2026, we start with that $22.4 million from the previous year. This time, we are anticipating contributions, just like we've been talking about, at $23.50. That's the 17 that you're already collecting and the 650 that we've been talking about. That equates to $3.6 million. As far as the transfer fee, just like the Chair Ganocchio was talking about, we do anticipate $10,000 fee moving in for next year. 627 sales at $10,000 is $6.2 million. We do believe that we'll still be able to get about 4% on average balances as far as interest is concerned, so there's another $1 million. And in the 2026 plan, we had a grand total of $15,921,000. So if you do the math there, you would end you would end 2026 at $17.4 million. However, the last time we spoke at version 2, this board directed just shy of $3 million to be withdrawn from that capital plan. So there are your version 3 reductions that you see. That's $2.9 million. So assuming all of those reductions, then your projected balance is $20,339,000. So again, this does not include any solar. It does not include any of the items that were removed. We do have a few more slides here because I do want to talk about some of these removed items. So as far as 2026 capital for version 3, it's just shy of $13 million. You see here on your screen. As we move into the next slide here, we've put together all of the different planned expenditures, both as originally proposed by staff and then what the board was actually approved. So everything that's red and slashed are the staff recommendations. Everything in black is what it was approved by the board. So for example, for aquatics, whereas staff had originally proposed to replace pool covers at $16,000, the board felt that it could be done at $10,000. Whether or not that's going to be possible is going to remain to be seen, and if there are any shortfalls, then staff will end up having to write reports and come back to boards. Same goes for pool furniture replacement, whereas staff recommended replacing everything at $10,000. The board has instead gone to replace those items that are damaged. So if, again, this is something that's the board initiative, saving $90,000. So if there are any issues as far as mismatching or anything like that, staff's going to do the best of their ability to make sure everything looks as good as possible. But that's what we're looking at. In broadband, there were no changes from the two items that you see originally recommended. At the clubhouses, there was a lot of the items that were removed. So acoustic panels was trimmed to $60,000. Locker room showers and heaters were removed, meaning they're not going to be done in 2026, as well as the gym or the tile repair over at Clubhouse 1 or the benches. At the PAC, there's a stage curtain repair and fire retardant that needs to be done, but this was removed. This will likely end up coming back just to make sure that we're in compliance with any OCFA and those kinds of items. But for now, the recommendation is to delete it, or the direction that was provided by the board, I should say. And you see a couple of the different items at Clubhouse 4, the spa heater replacement, the pool boiler, and the tennis court at Clubhouse 7. All of that was taken out. Of particular interest is going to be that last line, miscellaneous recreation equipment. This was trimmed to $25,000. This includes things like club requests that are normally come out of this. The way it currently stands, there wouldn't be enough funding to do a lot of those items for the clubs. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, as well as moving into golf. As we've talked about, staff recommended, 13 please. Staff recommended a bunker renovation. The total cost on that would be $850,000. The direction was to come down to $200,000 due to mobilization costs and those kinds of things. That's probably going to stretch it out to about a 5-year project or so. Cart paths were approved. Fairway restoration. You were in here when Tom came and talked about what all needed to be done there. I think there might be more discussion needed on that one as well. And you can see that the different pieces of equipment were approved for replacement, as well as a fuel station repair to make sure that we're compliant with all regulations. Some trimming as far as the consultant work is done in landscape. And then I'm almost done here. There were some contingencies removed for light pole replacement and maintenance. There was the equipment, miscellaneous equipment was halved, so less contingency. And I wanted to talk for a minute about vehicles. Vehicles were completely removed from this equation. So there was $1.1 million taken out from vehicles. And just to let the board know, we are going to be meeting in the mobility committee this week, where we will be putting forth a recommendation for that last line, the utility vehicles. And we'll talk to the committee about all the specific as far as that's going to be concerned. But all in all, that's going to be the strategy, is as things get worn and deteriorated, then we will come back and write individual reports and talk to the board about those items. And those are the changes that have been directed for version 3 of the capital plan.
Okay, can we, we'll just stop it right now, and we'll get a few more questions. And I see that Catherine Bravada's had her hand up for a while. Can we connect with Catherine? Catherine, go ahead.
Hi, okay, I just have 3 comments on the first page. As an owner, I agree that we should put solar in. It may be a bit of a cost up front, but in the long run, it is going to save us a great deal of money. The other issue was on the utilities. I understand the increase of $2 and, no, it's not there, that increase of $2. I actually, as an owner, think that should be higher. My electric bill this month was $324. Last month it was $243. My sister does have an oxygen compressor, so that's why the additional increase. But most of my energy is used between 4 and 9. So I kind of think we ought to increase that, because we don't know what Edison's going to do. They may end up raising the rates again. And then this other issue is just a personal issue regarding the vehicles and diesel. I know Carlos made the comment that diesel is more expensive, but diesel also runs much longer than gasoline. And also about 3 weeks ago, I read an article that the state of California cannot banish diesel fuel, that it was deemed unconstitutional. So I know all of our vehicles are gas-powered now, but, those are just my comments. I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you, Catherine. Martin?
Yeah, a couple of things. About the solar, we found that, like what we did with broadband, as well as the EV charging ports, when you dig down and you'll find the providers that do want to do business with you and provide a decent margin for the project. We found that to be, and I believe that there's a solar vendor out there that if we write a good RFP and we get enough coverage, that we'll get a decent price for solar. But we just don't want to take things for granted. Regarding the numbers in there for broadband, I know it says 9.4 million. I think that number is going to come in more like 8 million, because that's got all the 10% contingency in it. And the other thing is I don't believe we're going to need the $180,000 for broadband, an additional consultant, because in 2026, we're going to see enough test results from Ting that it's going to be a yay or nay partnership, and that in 2026, our allegiance now goes to Ting with respect to what they provide. We have a contract with them. They have to provide. We don't need to be carrying a bunch of different expertise broadband people around in order to be able to. That's just my opinion. Others may feel otherwise. But anyways, I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
All right, Marie?
That is also my opinion, and I believe that this board at some point voted not to have that 180. I believe the board has already voted on that, and the 180 should not be in there.
Gary?
I thought, and maybe mistakenly, but I thought we had said we were going to pare back paving next year some. What?
They had already done it.
No. For this year, they've already done it, okay? And it was $1 million plus. I'm talking about 2026. We don't show any reduction in that in this budget. I thought we had said we'd trim it a little. Quite honestly, what I'd like to see is like 100,000 or something of that and move it over to vehicles, because those mules are eating us alive. There's 13 of them sitting in front of the maintenance shop needing repair right now. We're going to have to do some work on that.
Okay, we haven't heard from
Ellen was
Go ahead.
before me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You got it.
Okay, I just wanted to get back to something. Okay, now, as Jose showed, that if we go through with what we have now, we're going to look at a projected reserve balance of 20 million. So let's not beat a little project to death that we haven't even got the real information on the solar. So let's get off that and say, if we wanted to fund it, the money's there. The other thing is the chair started saying that we're establishing this budget so that we have what our assessment will be next year. So let's not get hung up on every small detail, all right, because we can revisit these. The important thing to say is this. We're approving a budget for the purpose of assessment. Again, we need to go, and this is different, we need to look at these projects as they come up next year. We do not have the details on solar. We do not have the details on paving. So in the past, we have often just blanket approved stuff and moved on, and we're not doing that this year. So those issues will come up again. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm looking that direction. Stephen? No questions? Okay, all right. All right, go ahead.
Okay, I agree that on the 180, the fiber project, we asked for that to be taken off. And I think I've heard a couple other people say that and agree to that. So I don't know why it's there.
Jose, what's the mechanism for making an adjustment?
Take a vote.
Because what I'm hearing is take out the 180 and then add 100 for, no? Just take out the 180.
What I had suggested, and I'll go with Egan. We'll just let it go.
Just let it go.
Okay. Let what I was asking go.
So is that, do I need to do a vote on that, or we just do it?
Yeah. Do you want? My apologies. I'm not sure if you did vote on it or not. I know that we discussed it, but to make it a little bit more clear for us, would you mind making a motion and a vote, please?
I make a motion to withdraw the 180,000 for the consultant on the fiber project.
Here, a second? Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Passed.
Crystal clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Come on, the audience must have some questions, and I think they do. Mickey, come on up.
Okay, this is Mickey Choiho, United Mutual. I'd like to go back to the employee compensation, page 10 of 28. Expenses line, second block of the page. And as Jose pointed out, that the whole total employee compensation is 3% up, which is great. It's a good job. But as long as I understand that union wages usually they require 4% increase. And however, according to the chart here, 5% decrease. So I'm wondering if the number of employees reduced.
Sure. Thank you for the question. So the question is, hey, what's going on? Why do we have a decrease here for union wages? And the answer is yes. Some of it has to do with the allocation, how much is allocated. Again, the numbers that you're looking at here are going to be GRF only.
Right.
So either there was an adjustment made to a vacancy factor, more than likely.
Right.
Or the change in allocation between GRF and some of the mutuals. But again,
Okay.
all in all, you're looking at a 3% increase for total compensation.
Right. So all the parentheses, decrease might be the same case. Yeah, I'm wondering about the salaries and wages of regular non-union employees. You projected 5% increase. Can you explain that?
Sure. Again, as we're talking about individuals, the standard increase was 4%. In this particular case for GRF, GRF is increasing some of the actual employee count in recreation.
I see.
Now we've taken a closer look as far as what's needed, what time the facilities are opened, and those kinds of things. So we do have some increased headcount for recreation specifically. That's what's affecting GRF the most. And again, there was ample room to do that in that even all in all, with that 4%, you're still seeing a 3% increase.
Thank you. Well, mutuals, yeah, we're looking at very closely every detailed line item. So we are kind of talking if there is any chance that non-union wages could be reduced a little bit below, 4%. That's I know it's a very sensitive issue, really morale for the employees, so on. So we're really for all employees are really, positive and has a positive energy and happy to work here. But again, this year is very tough for the mutuals in terms of budget. Thank you for your explanation. It's very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mickey, point of reference, and everyone else, page 15 of 28, attachment 4, does show the head count, and we've actually dropped 13 heads on that chart. And it lists how it happened. So Jose, you have that chart? It's
Yeah, it's on the screen right now.
okay, here we go. Anybody have any questions on that?
Just for understanding, it says 26 version 3 approved and 26 version 3 funded. We haven't funded. Where do we stand on that? We haven't funded anything. But
So the proposal, and approved is a strong word, this should say proposed. As it's written right now for this version of the budget, on the right-hand column here where it says 26 version 3 approved, we propose that for version 3, the board approve a total headcount of 733 0.16. However, we realize that a lot of those will either go unfilled or there will be some vacancy or those kinds of things. So as far as funded, meaning what we're assessing for, is only 700.66. So we're using a vacancy factor of 33 positions. On average, that's what we're looking at. It's about 4% or 33.
So it's holding
It's about 5%
recognizing it's an
vacancy.
open spot, but
Correct.
we're not funding it.
Exactly. And so the majority, what the board really should be focused on, of course, is going to be what we're assessing for, what we're charging you for. We do believe at any given time we're going to be right around that 700 mark.
No, thank you. You explained the difference. It's very important to understand that. Thanks.
Anybody else have an head count? Gary, go ahead.
One that I hope you're wrong on is info services. I would hope that we wouldn't spend the year short 3 people in there with everything we got going on right now.
That's associated with turnover rate largely in resident services. At any given time, we have a vacancy or 2.
Okay.
Karina.
Reza Karimi?
Good morning, Board. Reza Karimi from Third Mutual. I guess we need to talk the elephant in the room, which is 11% increase in the cost to the membership for the GRF. That's way above COLA and inflation. That's unacceptable. What we fail or ignore is that we knew that the cost of electricity, water, employment are going to go up. Why we are so surprised? Why we didn't plan for those? Why we didn't work on the fees? Because fees should be run along with the inflation. If you want to rent a clubhouse and electricity is up, water is up, employment is up, the rate's going to be up. We fail to talk about any of those. So we take the easy way out. Let's charge the membership directly or go and get the transfer fee. That is irresponsible. I think we need to do a better planning and not to be surprised with these things. We know that the costs going up. Why we haven't worked with the fees and and the share costs? What are the fees? Why we always look the easy way? Let's just increase to 10%, $10,000. What the real estate market is going down. The real estate market at best is flat and is going negative. And that will happen. And we're going to lose some sales. So rather than looking outside, look inside. Look what we can do with the fees and assessment and the share costs in order to recoup the cost. And we failed to do that, and that's not right. Thank you.
Okay, Reza, one quick point. Jose, we did look at room rentals.
Yes,
What can you
absolutely.
say about that?
So the board can anticipate taking a look at room rentals before the end of the year. I know Steve was going to come back and suggest some changes as far as that is concerned for both room rentals and also for golf. So those are some of the items that will be coming before the board. The business plan does include increases to those, and I understand Director Karimi's frustration, but I just want to remind everyone that with the shared cost concept, what is it, an 80-20 split or something like that, as prices increase, revenue will also increase, but you're only offsetting 20% of that. So the balance of that is going to result in more assessments according to the way we're situated today.
I'm also told that the resale fee is competitive with similar operations in Southern California. So it's not like we're gouging, we're just doing what everybody else does, and collectively I think there's a justification for doing it. And so we're not gouging anybody, and who knows what the right number is, but I guess the number's what the market will bear. But on the other hand, we need to take care of our residents that are staying here. Now, if people want to sell their manors and move on, that's great, and we're trying to keep up property values by doing maintenance, making the place look nice, and we could slow down on that, but that's not what we do. In GRF especially, We're trying to keep the place looking nice. We're trying to make the clubhouses and all that recreation function attractively. So if some people suffer some economic loss on their way out of here, it's a choice we had to make, and we're choosing the residents that are staying. But we're aware of them, but we're taking care of the people that are staying here. That's primary, job number one. You got something to say?
Oh, I was just going to talk a little bit about as far as the amount of resales. I know there was a comment made as far as the economy going down and having fewer resales. We did look at some averages, right? We have a high water mark of over 900 resales in the community. If you take a look, the amount that we budgeted is 627, based on some more recent history. What's the number really going to be? I don't know, but I think that 627 is a fair assumption.
Okay.
I had my hand up.
All right, Marie, go ahead.
I want all of you to know that this board, and in particular, the Activities Committee, is working very diligently to find ways to make sure that, say, when we rent a room for something, that the price we charge for renting that room actually covers the lights, somebody cleaning it up, all this stuff, all that stuff, et cetera, plus making a little tiny bit of money, okay? Or some money, or a lot of money, okay? But we're working very hard on that issue. And another issue which relates back to the last discussion about employees. VMS, okay, is working very hard to try to get quality people to work for us. Well, we have a very low amount we're paying them. Well, if, say, one particular area was looking for 28 people or 30 people, okay, if we were somehow able to get a consultant, we're always getting consultants. If we were able to help them by giving them the opportunity to hire consultants to see if the reorganization of the utilization of those 30 people could better be done by 10 people, 15 people, then we could pay them more. If we could pay them more and pay out less. Those are my thoughts.
Ellen.
Okay, Reza brought up shared cost, and there is nothing wrong with us rescinding the shared cost resolution that is out there and creating a revised model where the user pays a higher percentage. So that shared cost resolution is from a long time ago, and there is nothing wrong where we can't create a new one. So that might happen.
Gary.
I'm going to keep beating this horse. 2027, we're up against a big hit because of the internet and direct TV hit that we're going to take. Huge amount of money that has to go in there. From my perspective, yes, there's things that I would like to see us do as far as raising revenue this year, but from a financial point of view, it's better to look at those in 2027 so that we bring in revenue to help it make that 20% number, or hopefully even a little bit less than 20. But that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a real challenge in 2027 because of that hit, because of internet and DirecTV going on our monthly bill.
Ellison.
Attachment 3, revenues. It shows our total non-assessment revenue. 24 actuals were $10,900,000. Budget for this year, for 2025, was somehow miraculously we're going to have another $1 million coming in, to making that almost $12 million in non-revenue and non-assessment revenue. Now we're looking at being a little more realistic about the 2026 budget, because 2025 is tracking below plan. Is that correct, Jose?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, it is. And we know it's doing that. So my suggestion that may take the form of a motion is that we task VMS departments to bring us the difference. Find us another $1 million in various ways, in revenue sources, in additional savings, so that we can have a realistic budget and that we collect revenues from people who use facilities heavily, who want to rent, who want to buy things that the rest of us necessarily don't want to buy. And I would put that out as the task and the challenge for VMS departments to show us some money. We need $1 million in new revenues added onto the budget. Show us how.
Interesting. Egon?
I was just going to ask, aren't next year's, clubs have already renewed for next year. Am I right about that?
Yes.
So they've renewed and in some cases paid. I think it comes due in August in any case. So our 26 fees are set.
For that.
Yeah, for room
But we
rentals.
have many other sources
Okay,
of revenue.
I just wanted to point out that one thing,
Thank
but
you.
I agree with Riza that we should increase the room rentals because doing it 3% when all other costs are going up more than that, it just doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
I'd like to point out, though, that one shoe doesn't fit all. We have to be aware that the smaller clubs have very limited resources versus the larger clubs. And there's this fairness thing, and across-the-board kind of stuff sometimes is not fair when you really look at it. So it would be easy, in a sense, to just raise it across the board, but we need to study this stuff and to make some link between cost and revenue. It's wrong to charge somebody for something, for an expense that's not theirs they're causing. That being said, we have shared expenses. This place is all about opportunity to be whatever you want to be. You want to try this, we give you an opportunity to do that to a point. But the point is that we have to give our residents, as part of the social contract, this place is marketed as a place to try new things, and we can't stifle that. We just have to manage it better. All right, Ellen.
To answer that, Andy, there is a lot of drop-in facilities where it's free, doesn't cost anything. So, but my question is about community events. At actuals for '24 was $633,500. What is that exactly, Jose?
I didn't come prepared to talk about 2024 actuals.
Yes,
but
on page 10.
Allison, maybe you can help us out. What is included in community events?
Oh, down here, the expense.
Excuse, what? To good, what?
Andy?
Yeah, that's on page 10 of 28. That's.
Yeah.
Can I, may I?
All right, go ahead.
May I?
Go ahead.
Those are not the things that we want to focus on, not to focus on the room rents. We need to see how we can increase the revenue and decrease our cost. So working on getting solar going, that would increase our revenue and decrease our cost. Those are the kind, not exactly that item, but I'm using that as an example to ensure that we focus on items like that. If we focus on room rent, that means we are again dinging our residents.
Okay, but
You
my.
understand what I'm trying to say?
Oh,
That is
wait,
the point.
can I finish, Andy? I
Ellen's
want
got
to
a
finish,
response. Go ahead,
because I
Ellen.
never got an answer from Jose about the $633,000. That
So-
could be part of the million that we're looking to recapture, in addition to some adjustments to fee rentals.
Sure, while Allison comes up here.
1 second, Jose, I can answer that for you. Those are the community events that recreation puts up for us. And correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, that these are different events which is done for the benefit of our residents, to entertain or whatever, those kind of things. But it's not, don't reduce what we give the residents. Find ways to improve our expenses and create more revenue. That is the direction we need to take.
Andy?
Yeah.
Andy?
Not pinpointing small dinging.
That's not small.
Increase it by 1 cent, 2 cents, $2, $10. That's the wrong direction we are taking. That's nickel and diming everybody, and eventually you'll be paying for it too.
The point is that we don't have to make money on every community event. For example, the Unity thing that's coming up in September, it's a terrific idea. And if it costs us, we're trying to develop it that it doesn't cost us anything. But if it does a little bit, so what? The value of community coming together can't be measured. And there are certain things that we need to spend money on. It's a good thing to spend money on. More importantly, though, we have to look out for resources and make sure that everybody in the community gets a chance to participate. That's a fairness issue. Stuff has got to be there for people to come out of their houses, socialize, get engaged. And if that costs us net something, so be it. That's my opinion on it. But,
Andy?
you know,
Andy?
Stephen's got something. Go ahead.
If you turn to page 14 of 28, these are expenses by departments.
Which one? What is it?
14 of 28.
14 to 28. Okay.
The largest expense for operation is recreation and special events at $7.3 million for 2026.
All right, there you go.
How much is our revenue from recreation? 1.x million. The second largest cost, actually I've got it backwards.
Yeah.
Recreation is second. The first largest cost is security services at $7.3 million. You have no revenue. Those two items together are almost $15 million. The total operating expense is $37 million. That's where your problem is. That's where you have to look for revenues.
That's right. That's right.
And that's what we're going to look at. Thank you.
Hence my, excuse me.
All right, I think we have a question from the audience or online.
Yes, we have 2 members in the audience and 1 member on Zoom. Richard Rader?
Good morning. Dick Rader, 270D. Juanita was sitting with me, and she asked me to ask you guys if you have had anything from the reserve fund specialist and how this might affect the budget considerations.
Is your question, did we incorporate the reserve specialist into this? Yes, the board will be meeting with the reserve specialist tomorrow, but in addition to that, yes, we've already incorporated their suggestions into this.
Has the reserve study been published?
Not yet, we're finishing it up still.
Okay. I believe, Jose, you mentioned that some vacant positions have been eliminated. Obviously, there was a reason why we initially had them in there. So what effect, if any, does it have on operation and services by the elimination of positions?
Well, as you know, we're continuously looking and reassessing at what services we provide. We're taking a look how we can combine certain functions and those kinds of things in the name of efficiency. We do believe that we've put forth staffing that's sufficient in order to meet all of the service needs with what's in there now. You will see a year-over-year increase from 2025 to 2026.
Okay.
That's included.
On the page 3 of 26, where there have been some reductions in capital planned expenditures, if you look at, let's see my notes here. If you look at item pool and hot pool covers, pool furniture replacements, acoustic wall panels, I'm just curious. I have no problem if there's real reason to reduce the amount, but did these reductions come about because of arbitrary considerations? We'll just cut it by 50% or something like that? Did they come about because you knew that the costs were less than initially thought? But let's just take, for example, the acoustic wall panels. I think they actually got a proposal and for the sound reduction, and it's been reduced by half. Does that mean we're only going to get half sound reduction? I'm not sure. Can you explain why these reductions occurred? Was it arbitrary? You knew what the costs were, or what?
Yeah. Andy?
Dick, they are arbitrary, but
Andy?
they're not capricious, and that's the difference. Egon, explain what we did. We spent hours doing this.
Okay, please don't use the word arbitrary. That may be in the past, and it may be some other people, but this is not arbitrary. I went out and I looked at every piece of pool furniture in this village, and I said, look, this isn't broken. And I talked to people about it too. And they, so that was one of the reasons why that was reduced. And we just spent, get this, we spent $190,000 on pool furniture a few, 3, 4, 5 years ago. This stuff doesn't just fall apart sitting there, okay? So it's not arbitrary, it's looked at. Now, you and I can go out together and look again, and that would be maybe come up with a slightly different number, but you will not come up with the need to replace all that pool furniture.
Okay, well, let's not
let me
deal with
finish,
the pool.
please,
I understand what you're saying, but what about the pool covers
Sir,
and the
point of
acoustic
order.
tiles?
Point of order, Dick. Let him talk.
Please, you asked the question,
All
let me
right,
finish.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, as far as the sound reduction, that was made after I spoke with Guy West, who said, that's the number, that's the right number, 60,000. He can do it for less. Also, unknown to us in the past was the fact that there is actually a room where we did sound reduction. And it is in Clubhouse 5. It is that exercise room that has a mirror on one wall. And the other panels, the other wall is all paneled with different colored, framed, what looks like picture frames, except they're just colored cloth material. This is very inexpensive. Okay, so my point being is it is not capricious. I went and I got an estimate from the man going to be doing the work.
Also like to point out that the system here allows for supplemental to the capital budget. So if it should turn out when these things, when we pull the trigger and we're going to do this stuff, if it turns out that it's more than we thought, there's a supplemental process to get the funding for it.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Andy?
So, we have to do this, but it's not cast in concrete when you actually have to do it. Stephen, go ahead.
So if no one is aware, or if some people are not aware, VMS took the GRF board on a tour of all the facilities on 2 different days. We went to every facility. We looked at benches. We looked at pool covers. We looked at pool furniture. We looked at acoustic panel necessity. We looked at bathrooms. We looked at flooring. We looked at everything. So these are well-considered reductions. So if you weren't aware of that we took those tours, we did. Thank you.
Well, let's get, they were here first. Kush, go ahead.
I'm looking at page 28 of 28, and there is stuff on it which says security, the automation of gates, which we haven't started, and security body armor and security patrol e-bikes. It all totals up to about $905,000. Allison, the $1 million that you were looking for is right there. So, except if you want to go ahead and get the bikes and the armor, which is like $25,000, $30,000. So,
That's a reserve, you mixing reserves with the operating costs.
sorry.
Yeah, please. Just-
Okay, I maybe made a mistake in looking at the wrong page.
No, but I think the point is, I thought we were going to talk about this. 875 to automate as a pilot project, gates in 1114.
No,
It seems like a lot of money, Don. Where's-
Yeah, let me straighten that one out. Okay,
yeah,
that one,
Please, I want to hear what you have to say, but I also want to say, may I complete my question
Sure.
before they go off
Okay,
into
that's
other
fair. All right,
areas?
go ahead, let's do it.
So let's hear what Egon wanted to say.
okay, this is about the gates. Now, yesterday, I sent out an email, if you looked at it, had an attachment about all the gates, operating hours, and what it costs us to run them right now. So earlier this year, initiated by the GRF board, we put in a project to automate 8 gates at a cost of about $200,000, which was, the cost estimate was made by the contractor and looks way high. But we made that request to look at it, and it would actually have a 1-year payout approximately. Now, for example, we pay somebody $87,000 a year to sit in a house at gate 4 and watch the taillights go out. Okay, and then the project as reintroduced here, gate 14 and 11 and 14 pilot, that was not part of this. Doesn't make any sense. The idea is we're going to do 4. We could do 4. I'm sorry. We put in $1.75 million and then reduced it by half and took the number of gates from 8 to 2. That's just somebody wrote that in there without even thinking about it. And that's not where we would start in any case. We would start with the gates, areas where the gates have a backup. There's a second gate there in operation while we're actually doing the work. So we would not start in gates 11 and 14 because they're the only gates that don't have a backup. So that was just miswritten, period. And whether or not we end up doing it, again, like all the other projects, they will come up for review again when time comes. They're just the placeholder right now.
Let Dick finish, let's go. What do you got?
Yeah, a couple more items. There was an item here about curtain replacement and fire retardant. Fire retardant, of course, is a safety issue. And Egon did some homework and said that there's a 10-year warranty on it. However, I'm wondering, why did, and I think we should find out, why did Recreation think it was necessary? Is there something that we're not aware of? Because I'd like to know from Allison whether that was just an oversight, that they didn't realize there was a 10-year warranty. So I'd like to know why Recreation felt it was necessary.
Let me answer that in a different way.
Staff does have-
I just pointed out that the gates 11 and 14 written down here on this piece of paper was completely capricious. You understand what capricious means? It means it was just somebody, it just showed up. It has nothing to do with the reality of what was planned. And I don't know why the curtain came up, but it came up in the work that we did at Clubhouse 3, the PAC, when we did it. And so why it came up again, I don't know. I don't know if anybody went and inspected it or not.
I can.
We do have staff here
We
that
can
can
ask
answer.
Allison now.
Instead of conjecturing.
I can give you an answer for the curtain if you want.
Can we have it from Allison?
Allison is the best.
I'm sorry, please, I could not hear the subject. Why it was necessary to do what?
The fire retardant on the curtain at the Performing Arts Center. So we had initially submitted to replace the curtain because it is torn. The fire retardant was done back in 2020 when the renovation, some minor renovations were done at the PAC. That does have an expiration date, and 2006 is that date. To put the fire retardant on, you have to take the curtain down and you have to clean it and do fire retardant. So we had initially, because it's very expensive to do that and because the curtain is damaged, we had put in to replace it. If you don't want to replace it, that's fine, but there is some money that is necessary to do the fire retardant, or you may have to close the facility. So it's very simple. It's a fire code thing. So we can lessen the amount that was submitted. We do have a quote for cleaning and retardant only, but they don't just go in and spray it. You have to actually remove the curtain and have it done. Thank you.
Correct.
I think this is very instructive. I think the work at the committee, I commend them for doing it. But it's very important to hear why we're doing things. And this was a perfect example of it. I had maybe another thing. I guess you're going to be looking again at whether we're going to eliminate vehicles. Is that it?
No, staff's recommendation is that we replace a lot of the vehicles, but the committee has put a one-year moratorium on it.
Oh, I got confused because I thought you said you were going to raise this issue in the mobility.
Specifically, we have utility vehicles right now that are up for replacement. The staff is going to be bringing forth a supplemental appropriation request to that committee to replace those utility vehicles, despite a moratorium.
Okay. I think it's very important that we take a look at that because, as we all know, vehicle prices are going to increase. So you kick it down the road, it's just going to cost you more. And I'm not suggesting, obviously, that you replace every vehicle, but you may want to replace certain ones this year in order to save money. Let's see whether there are a couple of things here.
Richard, I think you're done.
Dick, thank you for your
Why am I
comments.
done?
Yeah.
Well, you're
because
beyond the
we-
3 minutes
we
for
have-
one thing. But
Yeah.
you raise good points. We have to open it up to other people too.
Okay.
Right.
May staff have
But he
an
has a-
opportunity
you have
to
a
respond
response.
about
Go
gates?
ahead.
One of the big reductions, and I want to say and plug in for the golfers of our membership, there was a big reduction for bunker maintenance from 844 to 200,000. We're just deferring. That's one of our deferment projects that we're starting in 26 and are going to be finishing it years beyond that. We don't think that it's going to cost us only 200,000 to do all those bunker maintenance. Yes, Allison?
Thank you again. Just wanted to request, if you do want to do the bunkers in stages, if we can do one course at a time. There are 3 courses. To do it in 4 doesn't make sense. You'd have to close multiple courses multiple times. So the amount of money that you have in here is not enough to cover one course. So I would recommend bumping it up a little bit to do one full course so you can have 2 courses open at one time.
Maybe the par 3?
This doesn't apply to the par 3.
Allison, how much is one course? We never got a breakdown. Not even
We
in
did have a
CIC.
breakdown provided before, but if you do course 1, it's $327,000. Course 2, $274,680. And course 3, which isn't as necessary as the other 2, is about $248,520.
Thank you.
Okay, Allison, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just point out, if we could go back to slide number 5 of your presentation. In that slide, when it appears. Okay, here is budget development process, and in it you will see that the departments gave input on line items every step of the way. So this isn't just this board sitting here and making up fairy tales about budgets. It's with the input of the departments and VMS that are responsible. So I want to assure you that we have listened to our corporate members, that we realize that you want a healthier reserve budget, and that in order to do that, certain things get deferred, some things get put off, some things get scaled back, downsized, and other things get not done at all. But all of this work has been done with full cooperation and information from the departments. So, thank you. And I
Okay.
will reiterate my suggestion of asking staff to find additional revenues from all those departments, not all cost savings, but revenues, in the amount of about $1 million for 2026.
Okay, before we pass over this, the $875,000, it's too much for the gate automation? Too much?
Can we hear from our director? Is that okay?
We will. What, I'm asking, the $875,000.
It's too much for 2 gates, yeah.
So what would you suggest?
I suggest we go back to the original and plan on 4 gates. But first, let's hear from Eric, and we'll go forward from there, okay?
And while Eric comes up, I just wanted to dispel something that was said, and that was that our gate ambassadors get paid $80,000 a year. That is not even close. Just wanted to get that out there.
Well, whoa. What did they... Okay, Jose, what does it cost us to operate Gate 1, which has 24-hour attendance around the clock?
I don't have it.
Give me a ballpark. I'll give you a ballpark, $175,000 plus lunch relief. How do I figure that out? Well, gee whiz, 24 hours a day is 8,760 hours a year. At $20 an hour, that's minimum wage plus the sundry costs that we put on, $350 for SSI deduction and insurance, workers' comp. You put that up to $20 an hour. That's $175,000 a year, period.
Correct, but saying that they make $80,000 per person is not the same thing.
I didn't say per person. I said per gate for the year. That's only gate 4, which only has 1 person 12 hours a day. The other ones are 24 hours. That's $175,000. That's the plain and simple fact. That's something that you should be able to calculate or know or whatever. But I'm just really a little bit annoyed that you keep thinking that we just make this crap. We don't. Maybe some other people do. Okay?
I needed the clarification that $80,000 wasn't for one person, so if I misunderstood that, I apologize.
Yeah, but I mean...
Mr. Chairman, I have been on hold for 40 minutes. Can I be recognized at some time?
We don't see you on the...
Who is
I'm
it?
sorry.
We don't see you, yeah. Who is this?
I've had my hand raised.
Oh, Sue Kwam, okay.
Yeah. Okay, is it, is it okay if I speak now, or?
Can we get Eric?
Yeah, you've been waiting for 40 minutes, can you wait a couple more minutes, please?
Absolutely,
We will get to you.
absolutely.
Thank you for, you weren't on the screen, we didn't know. Sorry about that. Okay, let's work this out.
No, Eric has the
Let
floor.
Chief Nunez weigh in on this.
Thank you, Treasurer. It's not quite as capricious as you might think, where gates, the gates that we selected. What had happened was we had an original plan that we presented to SEAC regarding our gate program. They never included gates 1 and 3, by the way, because of the flow. The traffic flow that we currently have right now is just about 10 million entries. That's service vehicles as well as residents and guests. And most of the gates systems that we were comparing it to have probably less than a fourth of that kind of traffic flow going through their gates. As a result, there is always complaints about how long gates take to open so that people can proceed. Well, if you have a gate that actually is automated, there's a reduction. They can only allow one person to go through, and then the gate has to close and then open. And so that kind of gate flow, if you will impact some of the gates, and especially the high number of gates, or the gates that have the highest number of traffic flow going through there. So one of the things that was presented to us when we presented the whole project was that we were going to have to reduce that 1.4 million by half at least. So when they did that, we looked at, this would be actually an opportunity to do a pilot project to look at gate flow and the actual operations and how quickly we can get cars through and cycle through this, and the manner in which visitors that maybe don't, since we're not going to have an actual person at the gate, how would they actually communicate to dispatch and be let in. So it provided an opportunity to actually go through that exercise. And so we looked at 3 gates, actually, 6, 11, and 14. 6 because they close at 11, and for first responders, this would allow a gate to stay open longer, and they would be able to use that as an access point, but and residents as well, obviously. But gates 11 and 14, although they seem like they only have one entrance, and that would break down that entrance. Gate 14 actually has a very wide entrance and exit, and we could actually use some of the flow that would come out to go in, and we looked at that as the entrance gate is being barricaded, and didn't have to do that manually until it's actually put into place. But one of the things about gates 11 and 14 is that they have a higher queuing factor, because the cars can line up many more cars can line up at the gate, and we can look at how that flow goes because of that queuing factor of the gates, and because they're isolated that way, it's a little bit easier to monitor. There's less traffic flow going to those gates, especially because they don't have the recreation facilities that people are normally going into and experiencing. So we can actually have a much more controlled environment to go through that. And the numbers that we came up with that were numbers that and obviously, with our chair of SCAC, Egon, he's been working and calling our gate company to see about sharpening that pencil and looking at these numbers. But the number that they had given us was projected at $712,000 for the 3 gates that we were looking at automating, which is the number we were hoping it would go down to with about a 15%. We were looking at a contingency, because that was what the budget wanted. The goal of the budget was to half the amount that we had initially and get it down to that number. And so we looked at those 3 gates as that we could easily get that number and meet that number in terms of the budget. It would also allow us to monitor how we actually function, how it functions, before we invest much more money into the system, and seeing that it actually works, and what are the little bugs that we have to figure out before we go much more live. But I don't think that gates 1 and 5 will ever be able to be fully automated, because of that is our busiest 2 gates. And we have, like I said, when you have 10 million people going through this property, that is a ton of traffic flow and off of El Toro would be just, very problematic if we have people queuing up off of El Toro to get into the property. So that's how we came up with those 3 gates. That is the number that we had, and I think that Egon is right that the number that we looked at replacing estimated annual cost savings was more like in the neighborhood of $192,000 to $313,000, depending upon how it is actually rolled out. And then I think if we went with more, because those are 24-hour gates at 11 and 14, obviously, and we have 2-man situations there at a certain given time. So there is a reduction in cost in that would help offset the cost of the project by up to half, at least, in the first year. That's it.
Yeah, so, okay, I just very briefly, gates 1, 5, and 7 were never planned to be part of the original thing, and that would not be done in any case unless we find that the rest of the program works really well, and then we can look at those again. So those were off the board anyway. And the cost estimate that they made was, I don't know how in-depth they were, but the point is this. We already have most of the equipment there, because we paid about $200,000 a gate, give or take, when we set them up. So now we have the detection equipment, we have the electricity at the front. That's what the big costs were before. All we need to do now is add an additional sliding gate or rotating, depending on where we are. And all of those are still the plan has not been gelled to that point. We don't even know exactly what piece of equipment we're going to put at what gate, because they all have different geometries. That stuff is yet to come. We just got a place, but we need to get in with the modern age. all around. The gates work just fine. They have, I visit somebody, and then how do I get in? I have a code. By God, I know their email, I know their address, I know their telephone number. Now I need just one more number. I need 5 digits that I push on that button, and magically the gate opens and I drive through and it closes behind me, and that's the end of the story. And I know our traffic flow is somewhat high. Fortunately, in the places where it's highest, we also have 3 lanes at gate 1. We have very long distances in many of the other gates. In gate 5, sorry. But in gate 1 is probably the only place we have a real problem with respect to distance. And we can look at that if it ever gets to that. This is just the budget project, and let's not worry about it.
Thank you.
We still have a lot of the stuff to do, just like we do for solar.
Thank you. Coach, you have a comment on this?
So we are trying to control the money expense, and we're trying to do the necessary things to make things better. So we have a conflict over here. Why don't we take one gate at a time, just do one, see the success in that, and then move forward? This year we already have too many expenses, or whatever you want to say, plenty of money to be spent. So why don't we do one gate, learn from it, and then do 3 gates next year if we have to? So this is my suggestion, that we just do 1 instead of 3.
Ellen on gates? Thank you, Kush.
Nothing on gates.
Okay. In that case, we ought to go to Sue Quam, who's been patiently waiting. So thank you, Chief Nunez. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Bach. If you want to finish this topic, that's fine. Or should I just
Go ahead.
go ahead? Okay. Well, I've been able to call up a lot of things. When we were talking about the increase and that it's 20%, I would ask people to look at the past increases for GRF that were basically flatlined for years because they kept the cost down and they upped the increase of the ownership fees. We would show that to our members all the time, and it was amazing how GRF kept their fees down for the per matter per month.
Sorry, Director Kwam, can I interrupt? And I just want to clarify that the increase is actually 10%.
Oh, 10%. I'm sorry. I thought I heard 20%. Oh, good. That's far better. Okay.
And also, here's a history of assessments, and just so you know, over the last 10 years, including everything, including that 10%, is an average of 3.1% on your screen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. But it was impressively low. And while they were still trying to carry on their work. So on the broadband issue, I feel bad about the fact that neither Paul or Jose got to defend their request for $100,000. We all knew broadband was going to be costly, but we didn't save enough. And now we need to catch up to pay the broadband bill. And so we need to replenish the reserves, and ultimately broadband will save residents. It's the future. So right now it's a trade, but we're spending multi-millions of dollars on this project. And we don't have, as I understand it, a network engineer. It's already been voted on, but just please, as you're going through these and the staff has offered something, would you please ask the subject matter experts why they are requesting it? That would be very much appreciated. And I still think we need to cut the 4% increase for non-union salaries to 3.5%, and use the savings to give an extra $1 per hour to the lowest paid people, many of which are in rec and in, I would imagine, resident services. We aren't getting people to apply, and we could be getting more revenue if we had access to the venues. We've had Clubhouse 6 closed for a very long time because nobody wants to work evenings and weekends for $16.75 or whatever that is. So I know that we keep being told 4% is needed to get us to parity, but not everybody gets that. You know, they're given 4%, but somebody may get 1%, somebody may get 3%, somebody may get 5%, if I understand that procedure correctly. So if we want revenue, we have to open up venues, and it's just a possibility. And the other thing, when we're talking about rec, we could let recreation hire more acts, but the clubs don't want the competition from what I can see, as the clubs want the revenue. And of course they do. Of course they do. They want to keep their clubs vital. But we want to keep our pack going and we want our staff. So I think GRF should be getting more access to pack time to increase our revenue. You normally make, I am told, between $20,000 to $40,000, depending on the act. That could really help with our revenues. And the last thing I'd ask is that as you go along, will you please look at Zoom participants? Because I have plumbing people here today that I'm very grateful for, but I couldn't attend in person. And if you would ask staff as to why they have a rebuttal, that'd be great. Thank you.
Andy?
Thank you, Sue, and I think you're making a point that the people probably best positioned to suggest increases in revenue and less growth in expenses are the line managers. And,
Right.
and going forward, I think we ought to really push to get a more formal program in this budget process for the line manager input. It's been good in the past, and we see reasons why we should do this or that, but maybe we need to be more freewheeling. In other words, what-if kind of stuff versus just basic kind of increases. Actually think out of the box or whatever, because people, that's what it's going to take to beat this inflation bogey that we're facing, and the fact that we've got aging facilities. Can't be doing same old every year. We got to change our thinking, and the best source of that is the line managers who do day-to-day. They're on the firing line. Enough said.
Andy?
Corinna, who do we have?
Jim Hopkins.
Good morning. There's a lot of things going on, but I just want to focus in on the reserve account because I think we kind of mix reserve and expenses, and it's not appropriate in my view. The reserve is a savings account. It's an anticipation of repairs and replacements. And so when we just, if it's arbitrary to take out something, it then moves to the next year or the next year or the next year, theoretically, unless we make substantial changes in the process. So I just want to make sure that we're all cognizant of the $2.9 million that we just saw taken out of the reserves is movement, some of it's reduction, and some of it's movement. And so when I listen to the professionals here, they're telling us we need this because of this. The why is to me, the most important part of it. And so when we just arbitrarily do it for the sake of funding, and keep in mind, $175,000 a year is what I heard for net savings on security, and I'm not making an opinion on that, but that's basically 75 cents per man or per month. Now, I think if you ask a lot of the people here, would they want someone at most gates with 75 cents per man or per month, they may give you a different answer than we're making the decision here. So, again, does everything come through the committee? Because what I'm hearing is a lot of the board is making decisions for financial reasons or without going through a committee, changing process and structure for financial reasons without going through committees and getting resident input and committee input. And that's what it sounds like to me. So I just think we just kind of look at the process. Also, finally, the process does require or does put together at the end of the year Finance goes through a process by saying, hey, we allocated this amount. And we didn't spend the entire on that because we did some things that we should have done, which is to mitigate some of the expenditure. And we're now putting that back into the reserve. So there is a process by which we do that. And finally, the increase that you see in expenses, part of that is there was a $5 per man per month that was a carryover from COVID and savings along the line that no longer existed this year. So that's part of the increase. So again, all of these things are part of what we need to consider. But we need to have a lot more resident input when we make major changes, and that usually occurs at the committee level.
Andy.
Thank you, Jim. But you know that when we do these things, we have to have public input on it, and it's a very transparent kind of thing, and people push back, sometimes in a big way. So, you know, prior boards face this, and we face it too. At some point, you have to say enough's enough, we got to do it. And again, going back to what I said before, this is not cast in stone. It's a statutory exercise to set the assessments. So,
And can I just make one last point, because this is important. The reserve plan or the reserve projections, we really should see more than 1 year. 5 years is what I had looked at when I was treasurer, and that we should be looking at 5 years. I realize 1 year is the, quote, the expenditure plan, not the expenses. However, when I look at the considerations, I don't see a consideration for something that we are considering. We don't have an answer yet, but space planning is a consideration. And yet I don't see anything in there that considers that we may have an obligation, whatever that number may be. So you can't just from my view, you can't arbitrarily just take something out because you don't like the answer that was put in place. The answer is going to cost money, period, whatever that answer is.
okay, but Building E was voted on by the corporate members to be defunded from the budget, if I recall correctly. The corporate members voted to take out the $7 million for Building E. And coincidentally, we need $7 million to cover broadband. We had $9 million in the reserves. Building E got defunded, $7 million cost, so it's a nice wash. That works.
But to Jim's
Jim's
point, though.
But we're not talking expenditures. We're talking about the consideration that a solution is required. We're not talking about whether or not you allocate the money for that particular year or the next year. A solution is required unless you decide, hey, we're going to ignore the issue. If you make that decision, so be it.
Well, I can
But the
speak
issue
to, I
doesn't
can
go
speak
away.
to space planning. We've got a lot of vacant space here. It's how you use it.
Again,
I'm just
that
saying, there's
solution-
no
that
people that are
solution has
talking
not
about
been-
spending for big money on Building E
But
without
that's-
considering
sir.
the alternatives.
Sir, that solution has
Come on.
not been
You know, this is
decided.
this is a trade-off kind of thing. We're
Then
fine.
abolish the space planning committee. Need one.
Thank you, Jim. Go ahead, Marie.
I always appreciate your analysis, Jim. However, based upon a false assumption that we have not considered some of the things that you brought up. You're very familiar with these boards. We have closed sessions in which we cannot report everything that is considered. And there has been, you gave your opinion, I'm giving my opinion, and excuse me, I'm talking.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
I'm done.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
All right, Stephen's been waiting. Go ahead.
To Mr. Hopkins, GRF may form committees. Read the governing documents. Committees make recommendations to the board. The board ultimately makes their own decisions. They may be incongruent with what committees recommend. There is a process. Number two, the prior speaker mentioned something about we make $40,000 on an event at PAC. Allison, could you please come to the microphone? My understanding is there are about 800 seats in the pack,
814.
and if you get $50 a seat, it's about $40,000.
Yes, if you
It's
charge
not all
$50 a
profit.
seat. Yeah.
It's
No,
not all
not.
profit.
What's
So
the
I
profit?
just wanted to correct the record. When somebody says we make $40,000 at an event in PAC, that is not correct.
Correct. And our
Thank you.
events are not priced to make money, they're priced to cost recovery.
Thank you.
Andy, just a
All right,
second.
yeah, go ahead.
I need to leave. I just wanted to let you know it's not capricious. I have back-to-back dental and doctor, and they've been on the schedule for more than 4 months. Thank you.
Allison, you have something? No. Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
Martin, go ahead.
I really understand what you guys are saying regarding being able to look at what we're trying to minimize. This is a huge jump, 10%. I personally, I don't like being a part of that. It bothers me. It's like I wanted to do all we could, and that's why I made that recommendation of that $6.50. Wait until, because you think this is high? Wait till you see next year. Wait till you see next year. Now you really got to take into consideration your internet bill, because that's coming in, okay? You think this is high? Next year, that's why I'm doing all we can to try to keep things as low as we can right now. We're deferring all we can. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Yeah, to answer, Jim made a point about future years. I agree. Reserves are a multi-year issue. You didn't see it, but we saw a projection of 20 million for the end of 27. So 20 million end of 26, 20 million end of 27.
26.
And at some point, we'll share that with you, but we're trying to finalize the adjustments, which leads me, is the 875 in or out? What are we doing with it? What's the, I mean, is the 875 okay for the gate automation?
What? Is what?
We have 875.
It's currently in, and as you continue to make RFPs and those kinds of things, you can change it at that point.
Okay, so leave it alone? What's the sense? Just leave it alone. Okay. Corinna, any more questions from the audience?
Mickey Choi Ho.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Mickey Choi again. In terms of bringing on the revenue, and somebody asked about the Unity Festival, as long as I understand up to this point, the expenses almost offset if we pay 500 member tickets, right, Allison? Yes, we have about, 10 the sponsors and some of the individual donors. So actually, initial intent of this festival is that, yes, as our treasurer mentioned, that we bring all the community together. We celebrate our diversity and know each other and learn from each other. But actually, long-term goal, it might be very ambitious goal, but because we have a sponsorship, $5,000 to 22, so on. If we have 200 sponsorship, each $5,000, it's going to be $1 million. I mean, Laguna Woods Village is such a popular place that everybody wants to come. So we could advertise this community to the larger company. So long term, this is first year and beginning just a trial, but already in the preparation time, we already offset the expense. If we sell the 500 more tickets, we will probably a little income. And we are still looking for individual donors at that day. As long as I believe, as I talk to the people, they are, chipping $100, $200, $300. So I really hope that we have a little more income than offset the price this year, even though it's first year. But for long-term goal, we advertise the large company throughout the, community and even nationally. Large company for $5,000 donation for the seniors is nothing big. So just bring, that donation program. So hopefully this is continued program so that we let our village, know all the people who, in the future they are looking for the retirement community. So it's a possible, it's not impossible. $1 million. Here we go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mickey. Who said, are we finished, Grana? Marie has. All right, Marie. Go ahead.
I didn't get this hand up or down quick enough on the security discussion, okay? I'd like to go back to security. Over 900,000, right? There is recently come to our attention, Ellen brought it to my attention, that there was recently an incident where somebody had a heart problem in one of our exercise places or something, and there was not an AFib machine, okay? And you'll hardly ever hear me ask for some additional expenditure. However, right behind it, I have revenue, which I hope would cover even that. I think we need to ask our security department and our monies people, okay, how much would it cost to put AFibs, because we really don't need the liability of an over 55 place not having AFibs everywhere they ought to be, okay? Well, how might we overcome that expense? How about if you just start, we're doing tests, right? How about if we start by having our security department assign one security person for 1 hour a day, 5 of them, at 5 different stop signs, and issue citations for people who run stop signs. Safety issue, okay? I'm all about safety. If you did that, I'm almost certain it would if you only did it 1 hour and you only got about 10, so that would mean 50 citations a day. That would end up being about $250,000. Now you got to subtract, we used them for that hour, that kind of stuff. But AFibs up, running stop sign citations up, I think might actually come out on the positive side, especially if the 5 people for 1 hour a day was extended maybe 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, move them around, that kind of thing. That's my heart's thought today, okay?
But we do have defibrillators at the gyms, correct?
I don't have a list of all of them. Where this was an incident was at a drop-in facility. So we are working with our HR risk manager to get a list. We're going to be presenting it to the CAC meeting and figure out why we don't have them in drop-in areas. I think security of them is an issue, outdoor areas, protecting them from the elements and from people. So yeah, I don't have an exact list, but we do have them at various facilities.
Including the gyms.
Yes, that's the other thing, is usually you have to be trained to use one. I know that some of the malls have them out and everything, but there are no staff at those facilities, so it would be up to the residents to deal with the emergency.
Yeah, they're very easy to use, so.
Okay, tell us where we are. Where are we in this
We are hopefully wrapping up. But I did, if I may, sorry, I do want to clarify something, because Martin said something and Gary said something about, this impending, what's going to go on as far as broadband is concerned. And for residents listening at home, I just want to clear up that it's not going to be a big total dollar change on average. It's going to really depend on your own individual circumstance. We will have a lot more information to come, but it's going to be a different way to do things, whereas you're currently being billed for your own individual internet, or it will all be combined as far as part of your HOA. So I don't want to refer to it as this big impending thing, because on average, it's actually going to stay flat.
Okay, now one point where this is leading, once we finish this meeting, some of the changes we talked about today that we had a resolution will be reflected in version 3. And then version 3 will be incorporated into a packet supporting a budget resolution to be acted upon in September. Am I correct?
This is version 3 that you've received. The packet that went out is the version 3. We will make the change that you requested, and we'll submit that for your perusal and approval on September 2nd.
Okay. All right. You had a couple more slides? Oh, you're done?
I am all done, yes. That was everything.
Because I saw that thing with the rate of increase, that slide. It showed nothing, you don't have any more.
I
That's
don't
it.
have any
That's
more
all
for
there
you.
is.
I know you want more. We can go back to the 85 slides if you want. but no.
Okay, all right, I guess we're at the point now where we can, we'll get the director's comments, starting with Stephen. None? How about you, Elson?
Yeah, I want to see some revenue ideas from VMS managers. Please. That $584,000 shortfall, minimum. $1 million would be better. So from departments, they know, they're close to the ground, they know what the traffic will bear, they know where the bargains exist. They're not playing fantasy football with us. They can tell us. We need their help.
Yeah, and in that vein, if we have to change policy, that's something we have to do. So
Yeah,
we need to
right.
know that linkage. All right, Martin?
We don't need the 650.
Jose, do we have a breakdown of union and non-union compensation? Because it looks like it's all mixed up here.
Yes, it's part of the package that was sent out.
So it's in here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I didn't see it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I want to reiterate Cush's observation on let's do one gate, and then my AFib and giving out tickets for running stop signs.
Ellen, go ahead.
I have a question. Okay. On page 11, there was an expense here for consulting fee, and it says 50. It's a small fee, but compared to the others. It's on the top. It's about 5 lines down.
On page 11 of 28.
It's 50, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, just that, I just thought that looked odd. Okay, do you have that?
You talking about the $620,000?
No, I think it's 6,249. I was just wondering that we didn't have any, and I've never seen it before, so.
I don't know where you are, I'm sorry. On
Yeah.
your screen on page 11.
Professional fees, yeah.
Anyhow, just so you know, as far as professional fees are concerned, this is where we have our taxes, this is where we use our water people, several different consultants go on here.
Okay, I've just never seen it broken down like that. Well, I have a question again. I know I ask this every year, I'm going to ask it again. The credit card transaction fees under outside services. What is that? That's a big amount.
As we accept credit cards for payments, then our vendors charge us, whether it be Visa, MasterCard, American Express.
And so we pay the fee? Or we have to pay a fee to accept those credit cards?
Correct.
Do we put it onto the vendor?
Sometime to the person that's buying, you mean? No, sometimes we do, yes, but accounting makes us account for it separately, so we have to show both revenue and expense. This is the expense portion.
Okay, because it's $358,000. That's a lot.
Correct, and there's a lot of times that we will eat the fee. For example, if we're trying to get people to pay us for chargeable services or something like that, it's better than trying to chase them down later for it.
I thought we talked about this years ago and that we were going to not have that we were going to try and bill that. But anyway, okay. One other question, because I didn't get to ask this after the gates. Repairs and maintenance, equipment repair and maintenance, is that for vehicles? Are we repairing our vehicles, or is that the...
It's not for vehicles, it's for different repairs and maintenance that go on through the community, whether it be a simple painting of walls or there's just a lot that goes into that, as you would imagine. That's throughout all
Okay.
departments.
It's really helps if there's clarity, like you have elevator, lift maintenance, that's easy. But when it's just repairs and maintenance, it's very hard for us to figure out what $500,000 is for.
Sure,
So,
and that's why when this
okay.
is provided to you, it's provided,
Maybe
there's
you're
about 90 pages that are emailed out to
I'd
everyone.
rather have 90 pages. Okay.
It's available.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. With that, I think somebody needs to offer to adjourn the meeting. Who's second? Okay. All in favor? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Hey, Jack.